Hey and welcome, msKIRAspeaks. Before I get started, I ask that you watch the videos till the end, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. I want to give you guys another apology. I really do mean to get this content out to you guys in a timely fashion. I started this channel about 9 months ago. I've been working hard to get better and I'm getting there. But one of the things I'm still having a little issue with is scheduling. I will make a schedule and then have to change it on a daily basis. Being a single mother of 3 with a full-time job, it's no joke. So if you stuck with me this far, I appreciate you. I hope you keep coming back. If you're new, I hope you come back. We're gonna get this thing together. Yeah, my youngest is 6, so it is what it is. But you didn't come here for that. You came here for another episode of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 14, episode 7. Who gon' check me, boo? So the episode picks up exactly where we left off. We're at Sonya's dinner and Drew comes in. She and Sonya, they greet each other. And Drew's like, well, since you invited me and you didn't uninvite me, I decided to show up in support and I come in peace. So Drew, she gets introduced to Sonya's mom and she didn't miss the eating, but she definitely missed the cooking part. In her confessional, Sonya says she's glad Drew came because she really wants to have a conversation with her and get past their issues. So you remember the last episode they did the dirty wine and Sonya says she's got a prize for the winner. It's her gold medal, y'all. And I was like, oh, okay. In her confessional, Drew is like, you don't see Kenya bringing her Miss USA crown or Candy bringing her Grammys. And I agree with her a little bit. It was a little bit weird, but at the same time, you got it, flaunting. I mean, much respect. She got them gold medals and I ain't mad at her. But then Drew finishes by saying, if Pick Me was a person and it's giving try hard. And I was like, hey, pot, meet kettle. It's the audacity for me. So Marlo is the winner. And I mean, she was giving those Megan knees. And Marlo makes a joke about, mess around and she gonna turn it into a chain because she, she does like, her archives and whatnot. So Sonya says that she's glad that Drew came and that she wanted to have a conversation with her. So Drew is like, now and not when Artez was doing your makeup for free. So everyone laughs and Kenya's like, slick shade. And Drew, she swears, I wasn't being shady. Okay, Drew. So Sonya says it wasn't free. He charged her to touch up her makeup, $25. Sounds like a steal to me. And Drew's like, did you pay him? And Sonya's like, did you send me the contact? I haven't talked to you since New York. And I'm gonna say this. If you're doing business, you should have just got that man's contact information off the rip so you could pay him his little $25 and we don't even have to have this conversation because on this show, they gonna try you. So Sonya, she's pissed to Drew, alluding that she doesn't pay her bills. And Drew's like, we could have had this conversation at a whole nother time in private. Mama Joyce says to Mama Sharon, what they're talking about is insignificant and it doesn't make any sense. So Sonya brings up how the information about Drew's business isn't adding up. And Drew's like, and as my friend, you couldn't call me on the phone and have the conversation with me? She's got a point. So she brings up the invite and then the uninvite and how that hurt. And then Sonya starts to say something about how she communicates and Drew makes a face and why she do that. So Sonya's mom is like, give her the respect of not making faces and doing things that are going to aggravate her. And I'm like, I don't think mama had a place in this situation, but mamas, they going to jump in and protect their babies regardless. So the ladies go back and forth. And Drew calls Sonya a clout chaser. I'm clout chasing off of you? Oh, that Jamaican came right on out. Drew's like, no, not me. You don't want me at the shoot. I don't have enough followers. Sonya's like, what do I need to clout chase for? I'm a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. Kenya in her confessional is like, that's my kind of read. That's my kind of read. Candy in her confessional is like, you better boss up on them. The ladies was feeling that little quick read from Miss Sonya. So Drew, she tries to play it off by giving a cheers. And then she's like, friends don't always see eye to eye. So Drew in her confessional says it's funny style and they could have resolved this between the two of them. Again, we're going to repeat the same thing over and over again, but we know it's a TV show. So yes, she could have the conversation in private, but we're going to make it a moment on the TV. And so that's exactly what we did. So then Miss Drew, she decides to throw Kenya under the bus. And she's like, did you talk to Candy about that issue that you had? So Kenya, she brings up the vibrating panties and feeling uncomfortable. She didn't want somebody else zapping her vagine. Mama Joyce is like, if you didn't want to wear them, then you don't got to put them on. Don't nobody control my stuff but me. Okay, Mama Joyce. So Kenya says it was inappropriate. And Candy's like, so the person that played the lead in Toi has a problem? Don't get prim and proper now. Now, what I will say about these vibrating panties, and then we're going to put this whole thing to bed, or at least on my part. If it was me controlling them or my man or my partner controlling them, fine. But having somebody else being able to control no. I agree with that part. It's just, it's a no for me. So Candy gets annoyed and she's like, the game is for those that wanted to play. And if you don't want to, child, you get the point. And Candy in her confessional and Marlo in her confessional, they both popping ish about Kenya's sex life and making innuendos that Kenya was getting it popping with various people back in the day. So Mama Joyce is like, I'm surprised Keontae had a problem with it. And they have a little more conversation about it. And Sonya's like, yeah, I'm glad you guys came. I appreciate ya. We got to be at 9, so you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck up on out of here. So next we see Marlo, and she's at the Ultimate Women's Expo where she's a speaker. And it turns out that Miss Marlo has a foundation or a nonprofit for foster kids called Glam It Up. On stage, she talks about her rough start. Her mom had a substance abuse problem, and she was introduced into the foster care system. In and out of 5 homes, mad at the world and feeling like she didn't have a place to call home or real love. Marlo says she wants the kids to feel worthy, and she says that she's had the help of Neiman Marcus, Tyler Perry, and Sugar Factory, to name a few, to help her out with her foundation. So Miss Sonia, she's at home and she's telling her family about the dinner. She's like, the food was good, but it was chaotic. Her sister's like, what would be chaotic about a dinner? So she tells them about Sheree and Marlo being upset about not being invited to the Mommy Nation photo shoot. Her mom says, imagine how the Mommy Nation photo shoot would turn out with all of them show up. Sonia says in a group of 6 women, it's hard to get to know everyone. So Sonia mentions that Marlo is a Muncie, and then we flash on over to Marlo, who's getting a call from Drew. Marlo fills Drew in on what happened at the dinner before she got there. She says she was shocked that Kenya showed up because she was sick the night before and didn't make it to Sheree's get-together. Marlo says Sonia is taking up for Kenya, and Drew chimes in and says she's betting on the wrong team and she needs to get to know everyone. Now, Drew, aren't you cool with Kenya now? I will agree on the part that she needs to get to know everyone, but it's kind of like at this point, it's Marlo, Drew, and Sheree on one side, and Candy, Kenya, and Sonia on the other. So we're going to see how this whole thing shakes out. Now in her confessional, Drew says she's second-guessing Sonia and side-eyeing her. Go figure. So we're back at Sonia, and she tells her family that Drew finally decides to show up. Her mom's like, after the cooking was over. So then she tells them Drew says she was clout chasing, and we get again, I'm a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. And her father's like, bop, bop. So then the family is shading Drew's acting career. The sister got her comment, the mama got her comment, and then we wrap it up and we head back on over to Miss Marlo. So Marlo is coming for Candy, not being there for Sheree, and I ain't even going to get into all of that. All I will say is I don't think that Candy and Sheree is friends like that, in my opinion, and they just blowing the whole thing out of proportion if you ask me. So we see Sheree at her beautiful home where her life coach comes over for a visit. I think Sir's name was Jack Daniels. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. She gives him some tea and he's asking her how she's holding up. Sheree says she's been better, and so now we talk Tyrone. She goes to Philly to meet him at a restaurant. She calls, she texts, and nothing. He just left her sitting there with no explanation. We know the story by now. So the life coach is describing Tyrone being in jail and Sheree is this fantasy, and then he gets out and she's on the show, and so it's a continuation of the fantasy. And I'll be like, what are we talking about? Because Tyrone clearly don't want to be on this show. But okay, sir. He asks her how that makes her feel. She says a little stupid and a little naive. So she says she thought it would be different, and he says it feels like she's repeating a pattern, and so what is she going to do about it? So she says she fled. He asks if she's done with Tyrone. She can't say that for certain. Child. So he tells her to back off of pouring into others and to do for herself. He asks her what that looks like, and here we go with She by Sheree. I mean, we've got old footage from 2008. Child, my middle child was born in 2008. That's coming up on 14 years. Damn. Sheree admits that it's been a mess, and then we get that footage from the reunion of her saying, September, spring, summer. Child. So she says she's created things that no one has seen, and she needs to get a business manager, and we don't care. So the life coach tells her to go on and revamp the business and no more jailbirds. A hoot. Did you guys catch Sheree on the nightcap with Carlos King on OWN? Drop down in the comments and let me know. So we're at Candy's house and we see her and Todd, and they're trying to declutter, and Candy's got some clothes that she wants to talk to Marlo about donating to the girls. So Todd, he starts clowning Candy's clothes. He's picking them out the bag one by one, and he's got hella jokes. And then Candy's talking about a show she was on, and at first I thought it was a la carte, but then she said she was playing a lawyer, and I didn't think she was a lawyer on a la carte, but y'all let me know what the show that is. I know she's on The Chi. Is she a lawyer in The Chi? You can put that down in the comments and let me know, because I don't watch The Chi. Sorry guys, don't shoot me. So anywho, she gives Marlo a call on FaceTime, and she brings up the clothes, and it's crickets. And Marlo's like, she doesn't give the girls hand-me-downs or use clothes, because in foster care, that's all that she got. And it didn't make her feel good, so she wants them to get new items and make them feel special. Now, part of me gets where she's coming from, because we definitely don't want the girls to feel bad. But I'm like, give them the option. Whoever wants to take can take it. Whoever doesn't, don't. I mean, it's Candy's stuff. And then somebody else brought up how Marlo don't want to give the girls used stuff, but she's renting out her used clothes. And I get that, but it's still two different things-ish. Like I said, part of me gets it only because we don't want the girls to feel bad. Other than that, like, we're going to move past it. So Candy hangs up, and Todd's like, I told you she didn't want that stuff. And in her confessional, Candy's saying how she thinks it's wet. So we see Sheree, and she's ordering some food, and I was like, I might have to try making a omelet. I might have to pull out my waffle iron and test my omelet skills and see what it do. Anyway, Kenya comes in, and she's got on a bad Fendi jumpsuit. And normally I don't do that all over monogram print, but it was looking right. So Kenya says she's had some drama in her business. She didn't make her deadline with Walmart because all her bottles come from China. And as you know, with the whole Panorama thing, things were on back order like crazy, and shipping was crazy and all of that, blah, blah, blah. So Sheree asks who's helping her. Kenya's like, no one, she doesn't have a team. And she says if she doesn't get it together, she could lose everything. So Sheree says, those are some of the issues that I had with She by Sheree. She had men in the position to help her, and then they turn around and be like, I like you, right? So Kenya tells her, I guess some female bosses up in there. So as they're talking, Kenya starts coughing again, and we get into Marlo saying she's faking and calling her a liar. And I must admit, in that FaceTime call of Sheree's get together, while her face was beat, no disrespect, because she looked beautiful. She did look like she was a little sick, or like a little whatever. That's not to say she didn't look beautiful. Don't come for me. Just saying, you could tell she was sick, in my opinion. Kenya says she doesn't want to feel like Marlo is a double agent. She is. So Kenya explains about Drew taking the things over to Marlo's house, and like basically she didn't do anything. Now, Drew and Marlo did make them cupcakes, and you had no parts in that. But okay, Kenya, we gonna go with it. So Kenya tells Sheree she's a loyal friend, and Sheree, she thanks her for the clarification, and she appreciates it. And hopefully Sheree can see the bigger picture now and stop this foolishness with Marlo. Also, after this episode, Kenya was on Watch What Happens Live, and she talked about confronting Sheree about that little disgusting conversation that her and Marlo had last episode. So Kenya says Marlo is working overtime to paint her as a liar and a bad friend when she's on probation and they're just getting back to being friends again. And production, they start to roll the footage. And they start with, if a person's mother don't want to be bothered with them, and you know the rest. And I'm going to tell you, from that moment on, we would never be friends after that. Cordial, yes. Friends, no. So they continue to roll more footage of Marlo taking shots at Kenya. So in her confessional, Kenya says it's a sick, toxic cycle and she doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. She and Sheree talk and they decide to do a girls' lunch. So later we see Kenya shoot everybody a text about a So later we see Kenya shoot everybody a text about a girls' outing to support Sheree. Everyone says they're in except for Candy, who they show us in LA running lines for a la carte. Did you guys see a la carte? The season's over now, but it's on all black. It's only 6 episodes. I think they're like 30 minutes each. So it's going to be a real quick watch. If you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, drop down in the comments and let me know. Let me know what you thought about it. So we're at this girls' outing, dinner, whatever you want to call it, that Kenya put together. And Drew is the first one to arrive. Sonia comes in right after her and they greet each other and they hug and they say good vibes and positive energy. But it's awkward as hell. But shortly after, Marlo comes in to break up that tension. So Marlo tells her she's having a rough day and we start to talk about her sister. Her sister's in jail and it's on a minor traffic violation. She wants out, but the judge can see that she has mental issues. The judge will only let her out if she agrees to do inpatient treatment. So now her sister is going to trial and she can face jail for a year. So Marlo is hoping to FaceTime with the boys and her attorney and her sister and that she'll have a change of heart. In her confessional, Marlo is upset and she doesn't want the boys to go through what she went through. So Kenya shows up, still not feeling well, followed by Sheree, and then the ladies shift on over to that dinner table. They ask Sheree how she's doing and she says it feels good to be out. Sonia tells her she's too good for the foolishness and they cheers to Miss Sheree. So Sheree points out that Candy's missing and Kenya tells her that she's filming. So Marlo brings up Candy and the hand-me-downs. And Kenya says she's doing too much, that she wore hand-me-downs. So Marlo says she got picked on and Kenya says the message is wrong to put the worth on the clothes. Kenya says don't vilify somebody because the giving part wasn't enough for you. She brings up what Marlo did with Sheree's party. Then Marlo and Kenya go back and forth. Kenya tells Marlo that her comprehension is off, and Marlo tells Kenya that her wig is off. Damn, and Kenya's like, you're right. My wig is off. I wasn't feeling sick, and I was still trying to make it here. Child. Kenya's like, don't try to be my friend and talk shit about me. So Marlo says regardless of she and Kenya arguing, she's always going to look out for her. There's no hate, but with Candy, she wants more action. Sheree says she's known Candy for a long time and she doesn't think that she's been a friend to her lately. So now everybody's going to have a problem with Candy. Like, be for real, because to me, it just sounds like some BS. So the conversation continues and Sonia says her piece and then we move on to talking about this Mommy Nation photo shoot and her wanting to make it up to Marlo and Sheree. So she says she's flying out for something to do with Nike and Drew swears she was invited to that too. Drew says, how could you be friends with somebody who does that? Sonia says she's frustrated and she's making her crazy. Sonia says she doesn't like to be overtalked and she talks about her not paying the artist. She says she doesn't want that rep. She pays her bills. Drew's like, do you? So voices, they start to escalating. Drew and Sonia, they're sitting right next to each other. So Kenya starts to pull Drew's chair closer to her and further away from Sonia. And it's getting so crazy that Sheree walks around the table and she puts her body in between Drew and Sonia and shouts out to those ladies for trying to defuse the situation. She's calling Sonia unstable. She says it went from 0 to 20 million. Child, they stand up, they hollering back and forth. Somebody calls the other one whack, and finally Kenya escorts Drew on out. In her confessional, Sonya says at this point she doesn't want to get to a better place with Drew. There is no point. And the whole thing is really just silly if you think about it. So Drew feels like Sonya got out of hand for no reason. And Kenya's like, no. She's like, let me explain to you what happened because clearly you didn't get it. So Kenya says that, Drew was cutting her off and she wasn't letting her finish. And as Kenya's talking, Drew, she still doesn't get it. So they talk, they wrap it up, they hug, they walk away. And it just was like, child, Drew just don't be listening to nobody. So outside, Sheree says she's never been to Portland. And Marlo's like, well, don't uninvite me, girl. And Sonya is like, well, then don't piss me off. And then she says, I won't uninvite you guys. And they wrap it up because Marlo's got to go take the call with her sister. So I think it's the same place they were eating, maybe downstairs, a restaurant, hotel. I'm not too sure. The boys come up and the boys and Marlo, they say a quick prayer before they about to hop on this FaceTime call with the sister. So all of a sudden we see Marlo say hello and then it goes black. I don't know whether they didn't have permission to film or what the situation was. But then when it comes back up, we find out that the sister started screaming and yelling and cussing, and Marlo says that she didn't look like herself and she was blaming her for putting her there. She says she wouldn't come back to the phone, and Marlo tries to, get the call going again, and it was just a no-go. The whole thing just didn't happen. So Marlo tears up and the boys hug her, and in her confessional she says their future will be bright because she'll do whatever she can do to help them. She prays God is there with her, and she gives the boys another hug, and that is where we end. How did you guys like the episode? Drop down in the comments and let me know. Marlo has a good heart, and you can see by how she deals with her nephews and how she deals with the foster girls. And I really want her to get some therapy because that villain Marlo is a hurt Marlo. Anywho, if you've made it this far, put that hands up diva emoji for the ladies in this episode. I cannot wait till next week's episode. I hope you'll come back and join me for my recap or review of episode 8. While you're here, please check out some of my other content. Thank you. And before you go, like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate you. Peace.